Thank you. President Biden was no bystander to Azerbaijan's genocide of Artsakh. This was not some innocent error of inattention or inaction. No, President Biden, Joe Biden, was complicit in this crime, morally and materially complicit.
Can you call number?
From his first year in office until this very day. When Azerbaijan threatened to attack Artsakh, he armed Artsakh, emboldened its oil-rich AYF regime, failed to fund a single dollar of humanitarian aid in Artsakh. When Azerbaijan blockaded Artsakh, he did not lift a finger. For 10 months, silence.
Please don't call me, okay?
No sanctions.
When you call the live stopping.
No airlift. On the eve of AYF's promised attack, his aides went to Capitol Hill and pledged before the U.S. Congress that they would not tolerate, they would not countenance an Azerbaijani attack upon the people of Artsakh. But when Azerbaijan actually attacked, he abandoned the Armenians to genocide. His aides, his Secretary of State, promised no business as usual with Azerbaijan, and then very quickly returned to business as usual with Azerbaijan. In fact, he pushed Azerbaijan, a major polluting, carbon-producing nation, to host this year's Global Climate Summit. Our president's record, sadly, is all too clear. No U.S. leadership in preventing or punishing Azerbaijan's genocide of Artsakh, no U.S.-led resolution to secure the return of Artsakh Armenians to their indigenous homeland, no pressure on Azerbaijan to end its current occupation of Armenian lands, no sanctions on Azerbaijan for illegally detaining, abusing, torturing, and murdering Armenian prisoners of war, no investigations into Azerbaijani war crimes. In sum, not a single step to reverse a reversible genocide. Not a single step to reverse a reversible genocide. What did the Armenians get? A few dollars for the refugees. Flowers to an Armenian funeral, around $100 a person, and very little of that money will actually reach the families in need. This type of complicity must have consequences. It must. It must come with costs. Those who committed this genocide and those who materially aided and morally emboldened it must be held to account. That includes President Biden and his predecessor, President Trump. Here, at protests like this, at the White House, in Congress, where legislators must block U.S. military aid to the AYF regime, in the court of public opinion, before the American people, and perhaps most crucially, at the ballot box, in our elections. We're already seeing this play out in states like Michigan and Pennsylvania. Citizens rejecting genocide and demanding accountability from the public servants elected to represent them. To represent them. Not foreign governments, not their well-paid lobbyists, but rather to represent us as Americans, as American citizens, stakeholders in our American democracy. The fact is, this is how America is supposed to work. And frankly, it is working. Slowly but surely, and that is ultimately a testament. The fact that these types of policies are costing votes in an American election is a testament both to the strength of our American democracy and the basic decency of the American people. It is as well a testament to our resolve, to our resilience, to your resolve on the other hand, and your resilience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ingeraram. Next, we would like to invite AYF DC Ani High Court Committee Chair Ngerwe Suleiman Karyan, who will share her call for justice.
I can see myself at this protest from years past, hearing the stories of survivors, and for the first time, seeing that the world was filled with a level of pain, an amount of cruelty I could not have imagined before. Remembering my own great-grandmother Zavat, who was orphaned and forced to march through the blazing blizzard. To march under the gaze of an indifferent sun, to march as those around her were either shot, starved, or drowned to death. I often found, as I do now, it hard to keep the tears out of my eyes. But I found strength, and I took comfort in the phrase 1915, never again. 1915, never again. Those were the words we chanted. Those were the words we promised. Was their meaning unclear? Or were our voices not loud enough? Not strong enough? Not demanding enough? Possibly not desperate enough? Did our hearts not show enough sorrow? Were our tears, was our blood not enough? Not enough to prevent us from seeing 1915 once again. I was naive. I did not understand that 1915 was neither the start nor the end of our pain. That it started before the Hamidian massacres of 1880. That it continued through the taking of Nakhchivan, to the pogroms of Sumgait, Baku, and Kirovabad, to the future that faces the villages that our government so easily hands over today. Genocide is not contained to the past. Genocide is what we see today. Genocide is the Armenian children hiding in bunkers, covering their ears as they ask their mothers when the bombs will stop. It is the families, starved, left in the dark, with the looming threat of an attack they cannot defend. It is Gurgen Markarian axed to death in his own bed. It is the children of David Bek who go to school across from an Azeri shooter. Mere feet away from the same enemy that posted photos of Armenian women they promised to rape, that proudly mutilated and killed our soldiers on video. Genocide is the destruction of our lives today. The desecration of our graves, the erasure of our names from history. I ask myself, when will it stop? When will it stop? The truth is that genocide is not only the brutal killing of our people, but the attempted destruction of our hope. An effort to convince us that we are no more than the remnants of a sword that we are classified to be. When will they stop? They will not stop. They will not stop, and we cannot sit and wait for them to. We cannot sit and wait. I cannot sit and wait for the village of Artsakh, the village I consider my home, to play out the same history.
Oh, it is?
I cannot sit and wait for the people I know by name, the people I know by face, the people that I played soccer on an asphalt strip with, the people that last summer I promised that I would come back to. I cannot sit and wait for them to face the same destiny. So, as Azerbaijan tests the waters of what they can get away with, let us make our voices clear. Let us make our voices clear. We will not be complacent with the murder of our people. We will not be complacent with the murder of our people. We will fight to the bare bone. We will give every single ounce of ourselves to this cause. We will not break. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will rise. We will rise to break the cycle of genocide. Gamavor panak arach. Gamavor panak arach.
Thank you, Sumit.
We want to capture this.
We just had a development I'd like to share with you. You may know that we have two of the main candidates running for office. One is the incumbent, President Biden. He has sadly armed Azerbaijan. He was preceded in office by President Trump, who also armed Azerbaijan. There is a third candidate who has not armed Azerbaijan, and in fact has condemned the arming of Azerbaijan, condemned the genocide of the people of Artsakh, and in fact called for publicly the return of Armenians to Artsakh. He said, I think he was the first to say, that what happened in 1915 we cannot change. That is sadly an irreversible genocide, but this is a genocide that can be reversed. With American leadership on the global stage, at the United Nations, a Security Council mandate, a protection force, the people of Artsakh can return to their homes. This genocide can be reversed. Robert Kennedy Jr. knew we were having this protest today. We were in touch with him earlier today, and he reached out to us and said, I want you to share this. I can't be there, but I want you to share my message. You can read it, his message on social media, but I'd like to play for you his words today. But before I do that, let me remind you, sometimes it's easy to feel like we're not masters of our destiny, that we don't control our fate, that the forces that govern America are larger than us. Well, let me tell you, in this election cycle, every vote will count. Not in every state, but in states like Michigan and Pennsylvania and Nevada and Arizona and Georgia and Wisconsin, especially Michigan, home to 75,000 Armenians, in a state where the election will likely be decided by 10 or 20,000 votes. We actually hold a lot of leverage here. When the two major party candidates, sadly both are on record arming Azerbaijan, we're not left with much of a choice. So it's always good when we have an option, a third option. And one of those options this year is Robert Kennedy Jr. If you just listen in, I'm going to play for you now. We're going to route it through the speakers. Robert Kennedy Jr., son of Robert Kennedy, nephew of President Kennedy, speaking now.
100 years ago, during World War I, the Ottoman Empire perpetrated the first genocide of the modern era when it murdered 1.5 million ethnic Armenians. That ethnic cleansing wiped out thousands of years
Can you check if the live is on?
and Poland. Today, the oldest of all Armenian territories is now the victim of an ethnic cleansing campaign. This time it's Artsakh, also known as Nagorno-Karabakh. During the Soviet era, the Kremlin forcibly incorporated this Christian territory into Muslim Azerbaijan. Artsakh had been Orthodox Christian and Armenian for over 1,000 years. It has one of the oldest, most beautiful cathedrals in the world. Beginning in 2020, Azerbaijan ruthlessly launched an ethnic cleansing campaign against this peaceful and peace-loving people. It systematically bombarded population centers with cluster bombs and missiles. And in September, Azerbaijan launched an unprovoked invasion and expelled all 120,000 ethnic Armenians. While the world was focused on Gaza and Israel with indignation and outrage from every direction, we heard almost nothing about this mass expulsion of the entire population of one of the oldest Armenian states on the planet. Empty condemnations of this ethnic cleansing campaign are not enough. Unlike the 1915 genocide, this one is reversible. The U.S. government needs to organize and mobilize the global community to take action to ensure the safe return of Armenians to Artsakh and to defend their right to self-determination. This is a situation where peaceful sanctions could actually work. The U.S. still has leverage in that region, and it can use that power to mobilize all of the nations in that region to reverse this humanitarian tragedy. We should also seek the removal of the blockades in Armenia by Turkey and Azerbaijan. Armenia is a landlocked nation, and it needs access to ports into the surrounding countries. As President of the United States, I will use diplomacy, our moral authority, our economic leverage, and sanctions to restore Armenia to a nation of peace and justice. I want to commit this country to the restoration of the sovereignty of Armenia and Artsakh, and to the restoration of its territory. I want to do this peacefully. Instead of starting another war somewhere, I'd like to stop one.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We have options now. We have options in Maryland, Virginia, Michigan, and every other swing state, every other state in the nation. So we need that kind of leadership. We would welcome that type of leadership from President Biden. We would welcome it from Donald Trump. We want that kind of leadership leading the way for our America. Those are our values, right? We stand against genocide, and yet our State Department emboldens genocide. We stand against genocide, yet our presidents fund and arm genocide. This is the type of leadership we want. This is the kind of leadership, frankly, that we deserve. So thank you very much for listening to Robert Kennedy Jr.'s message.
Thank you again, Ngeraram. Finally, we are honored to be led in prayer by Der Sarkis Aktabukians of Surp Kach Armenian Apostolic Church. And the prayers will be followed by the singing of Giliga by our very own talented musicians and vocalists, the Ngeruis Alexandra and Lilia Yaralian.
Հանուն Հոր եւ Որդու եւ Ոգուս Սրբո ամեն։ Վահվանյա Քրիստոս Աստվածներ, Զասկս հայոց, Եկեղեցիս Հայաստանի հայց, համախմբյան ժողովուրդը, Սմփովանյա Սուրբ եւ Բատվագան Խաչիկոյի խաղաղության, հրգյա Զադյա հերևելի եւ աներևույթ թշնամույն, արժանավորյա քոնքյան փառավորել, Եսքեզն Հոր եւ Ոգուս Սրբո, այժմ եւ միշտ եւ հավիտյանս Հավիտենից ամեն, որ գյալ դեր մեր Իսուս Քրիստոս, ամեն,
Սուրբ գեղեցի անուքո, եկեսցե արդայություն քո,
Wow. արքայություն եւ զորություն եւ փառք Հավիդյանս ամեն։ Շատ ավրիկս։
Շատ շնորհակալ ենք Տեր Սարգիս Ակտավոկյան։ Շատ շնորհակալ ենք հայ ժողովուրդ. Let's all move to the sidewalk area. The buses are coming to take us. That's the end of our protest for today.